The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, episode number 53 to be exact. I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt, and joining me for what might be a record third straight episode of his own podcast is the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio.
Brian, always good to see you.
Pat, I think it's safe to say, because I look at the download numbers, but this is the most anticipated episode we do every year. It's the schedule release episode, and we're doing this before we even post that schedule on GoPack. So we like to get Pat to sit here and break down all the competition. So, Pat, we got a lot to cover today.
Yes, definitely. A lot on the agenda. I see all your notes over there.
There are like 6 pages of notes here.
About time you typed something up.
I'm glad I didn't tell you how long we were doing this for today. But before we dive into the schedule, a couple of news items. Pat, last episode, you surprised me and brought up info about the 2019 Wolfpack Wrestling Club Golfing with Wolves Golf Classic, and that is a long name, by the way. But anyways, the annual golf outing to support NC State Wrestling will be held on Friday, October 25th at the Wildwood Green Golf Club here in Raleigh. 1 p.m. shotgun start for all you golfers, and you don't have to play golf to come out and enjoy. You can just ride around, interact all day. And, of course, if you register, dinner's going to be provided. There's a hole-in-one prize, too, this year I read about, and that seems like a lot of money with a lot of zeros in that dollar amount. So a hole-in-one prize, that's going to be a great addition to it this year. But you guys held this golf tournament last year. Lots of fun. Maybe not the best golf action from wrestlers, but good interaction between Wolfpack Wrestling Club supporters. Pat, why do you guys hold this fundraiser?
Yeah, it's last year was the first time we got together and asked everybody to be a part of this, and we had a great turnout. It was obviously really hot that weekend, so as you can see, we pushed it back a little bit, so the weather hopefully be a little cooler. But you never know.
People were complaining that it was too hot.
There was. I won't name names, but there were a few. But yeah, if you don't know how to play golf, you can get on a team and you can just do putt-putt. You could be the guy that comes in and be a closer. So I think it's mapped out to kind of fit everybody's needs if you're a golfer or not, and if you just want to come hang out and do a couple raffles and talk and hang out with all the former wrestlers, it'd be a good time. So hopefully we'll see you out there this time, Brian.
I was out there last time. You told me to take pictures. I couldn't actually play golf, but thank you for making me work that day.
Like, literally you can't play golf?
Never tried.
All right.
Hole-in-one prize. Who thought of this idea?
I don't know. I think that's a new thing out there. So, okay. Yeah, it'll be a good prize.
Did you see the dollar amount on that prize?
It will surprise everybody. Maybe we'll change it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ponying that money up?
Well, everybody knows how much I get paid around here, so I couldn't afford that prize. But again, if you would like to help contribute either by playing golf or just coming out and being a part of the event, please visit wolfpackwrestlingclub.org for all the details. We're going to be bringing this back up on future episodes, but the golf outing again, Friday, October 25th. And with some more Wolfpack Wrestling Club talk, the 2019 World Championships took place recently in Kazakhstan. And for the first time in his 3 trips to the World Championships, Nick Wisdowski did not come home with a medal at 125. And I've talked about this before, but this year at the Worlds, it was a qualifier for the 2020 Summer Olympics. A top 5 placement qualified that weight for their respective countries. So a lot coming up, a lot of questions about how this process works. So, Pat, I want to ask, how does the U.S. get 125 qualified for the Olympics? And second, how does Nick get himself qualified for a spot on the U.S. Olympic team now that the Worlds are over?
Yeah, you got a couple options. Obviously, they set it up to where if you bring home a medal, you put yourself in the driver's seat for waiting for people that are coming through the Olympic trials and being in the finals. Nick took advantage of that last several years, and then this year he's going to have to go through the process again, which at the end of the day, I think could help him a lot and keep him sharp. And he knows that, and he's got some work to do. But at this level, any little mistake can cost you, and valuable experience for him. So he'll have 2 shots at these regionals that they have for qualifying for the Olympics. 2 different locations. I'm not exactly sure where they're at, but he'll have 2 different options to go and qualify the weight. I do know that once the weight's qualified from another country, they can't participate in that. So the higher level competition right now from this past World Championships sits out, and these guys got to go out there and get the job done. Once that happens, then December will be the U.S. Open out in Dallas, and then the Olympic trials will be, I think, 2 weeks after the NCAAs in State College, and that's the whole weekend there comes down to winning that, or being in the finals already and getting a 2 out of 3 wrestle off against the top 2 guys. And no difference than what he's had to do in the years past is win those matches. So it'll be good. It's a little shorter season because we're used to the, I guess, Final X being in June, right?
Yeah, it was really
good. So we shave off a couple months there, and we'll be ready for it and looking forward to the challenge that lies ahead. That's what makes people great in this sport is overcoming a little bit of adversity and getting better, and that's what we got to do.
A very exciting time. The Olympics doesn't get any bigger. Tokyo 2020. But Pat, are you ready to give the people what they want? The 2019-20 NC State wrestling schedule.
Let's dig in.
Kicking off the season, the Wolfpack's annual Wrestle-Offs will take place on Saturday, November 9th, and huge day in Raleigh that weekend as the football team's going to host Clemson. And Pat, you guys have also held this event over at the stadium before the football game, but since we don't know game time yet, we're still working on details of the Wrestle-Offs, but this year could be a lot of fun. A lot of new faces trying to get into that lineup and a lot of competition at different weights.
Yeah, we're working hard right now. That is the goal, is to have it outside somewhere over in that area. It just comes down to finding the facilities to do that, and you always need a backup plan in case it's raining out. So there's a lot of logistical things that go into this, but we will definitely have our wrestle-offs that day and make time to go to the game. And then obviously we'll be hosting a big weekend for us in recruiting too. So we got some heavy hitters coming in for that weekend.
Busy first weekend of action. You guys are really packing it in to start the home schedule. The weekend of November 15th through the 17th is a great chance to see a lot of NC State wrestling action in Raleigh. And Friday night, November 15th, NC State will host Old Dominion inside Reynolds. 6th straight season of this matchup. NC State's won the past 5, but, man, ODU gives you guys fits every year. Last year was a very tight 16-15 win up at their place. Great action that first home duel with this rivalry you guys always have with them. And they have 4 guys ranked in the preseason poll, including Larry Early. He was an All-American last year at 157 and is ranked number 4th nationally. This might be the earliest you guys have had a duel to start off your season.
Yeah, and they do. I mean, they've been making some good strides with Coach Martin and the staff over there have done a great job. So it's a good way to kick off our season, and that is, you're right, it's a dual meet. These guys, I do know from last year that didn't sit well with some of the performance. So it's one that I know guys are looking forward to and know that we always get a real, extremely hard competitive match with those guys that wrestle hard. So it's going to be a good one at home. And there's going to be some high-level matches this year. I think, as you look from past experiences, the level guys they have and where they're at talent-wise matches up well with some of our guys. And there's going to be some really good matches right away. And obviously, 157, you can star that one because that's going to be a highlight. And I know, Hayden is not happy with last year's result there, and he's going to be ready for sure for that, and I know they will be too, so that's what's going to make a great match.
NC State then hosts the Wolfpack Duels and the Wolfpack Open on that same Saturday and Sunday, and Pat, those 2 days of competition, always great for you to get a lot of matches for a lot of your guys.
Yeah, that's it just so happens this year with Old Dominion's schedule, we kind of had to move it to that, so we'll get a lot of wrestling in that weekend. I expect everybody on our roster to get 2 days in out of the 3 competing in something. So we'll mix and match our lineup from, our starters wrestling in Old Dominion, and then from there we'll mix and match our lineup, seeing on who needs more matches for open tournaments and whatnot. But we got a lot of depth, so we'll be ready to roll for that weekend and getting everybody, a bunch of matches to kick off our season.
Road action the next weekend. Back up to your old stomping grounds in New York as NC State will face Cornell and Binghamton on the same day on November 23rd. First, you'll be at Cornell at 1, then you guys have to make the short drive over to Binghamton for a night duel. Any rationale to facing both on the same day as opposed to splitting up those duels?
Yeah, it worked out. It's always nice to go back to your home state. Obviously, got the coach at Binghamton for a long time, and excited to go back. I haven't actually been in Binghamton since I left, so this will be my first time back in town.
Will they hold a parade?
No, I doubt that. No, only if Nick came with me. No, but I highly doubt that. But it will be good to go up there. Obviously, know a lot of people in that state, being from there, and family's still all up there, and we recruit hard up there. So expect a lot of people coming out to watch two good duels, obviously with Cornell and the history and tradition they have, and that's going to be a lot of fireworks there. They do a great job promoting their matches and getting a good crowd, and then heading up to Binghamton later that day. Same thing. I think we get to go wrestle in their event center, which is a big event for them, and having some guys that are from the state. I expect people coming out to watch, and it'd be nice to see some old people and catch up with them.
Are these one-offs or home and homes?
Cornell will be a home and home. Binghamton is not. That was the main reason really to go up there, is to get them dueling with Cornell, and yes, we will have them here at home the following year, so there was a reason to go up there and travel.
I was going to say, Cornell's coming off a 7th place NCAA finish last season, and they finished in the top 10 at the NCAA championships in an incredible 12 straight years. And this will be an interesting duel, as Cornell's already announced 4 of their athletes will be taking Olympic red shirts this season, including 2-time NCAA champ Yanni Diakmahalis. So not quite sure who their starters will be, but Cornell has been one of the top NCAA teams for quite some time now.
Yeah, and that's a big reason why we want to get them on our schedule. They, year in, year out, are producing at a very high level, having national champs, and team competing to win it. So we knew if we can get a duel with them, we're going to obviously see all that experience, and to get 2 years on the schedule with them is going to be real important. Regardless of who they have in their lineup or not, they're going to have good, high-level guys ready to compete. So, yeah, it'll be fun to go up there, and I would imagine they're going to have a sold-out crowd, as they always do for their duels.
On to Binghamton. They went 10-3 last year in duels, and the Bearcats returned 3 NCAA qualifiers, and they're coming off their highest EIAA placement in school history. Now, you're 7 years removed as the head coach. Any reservations about going back up to your previous school and scheduling this duel?
No. I've been trying for a while to go back up there with the coaching change that they had. I think it worked out well for them to see the benefits of both programs to compete, and it worked out just having Cornell down the road. So, yeah, we get 2 good duels in one day. We don't have to burn an extra date. Sometimes, when you go back-to-back, you got to use a date. So this didn't cost us any more dates on our schedule, and travel and whatnot. We can fly in and out, going in on a Friday and coming back on a Sunday, so guys won't miss too much with school. So it worked out well with this. But no, excited to go back up to Binghamton and know a lot of people up there, know how hard those guys are working, and they're always going to have good product and guys that can compete at a high level, and there's going to be a couple key matchups there. We got to be ready to roll. Some guys are going to get tested that weekend, back-to-back matches, and I think 184 is one of those that stands out right now to me. Trent's got to be ready to go that weekend. I think he's going to hit 2 top 10 guys back-to-back, and no way to start your season than going out there and beating both those guys.
Finally, the one tournament I've been pushing for a lot of years. NC State will be traveling out to Las Vegas for the 2019 Cliff Keen Invitational the first week in December. Now, I'm excited for this one because year in and year out, this is one of the top in-season tournaments each year. The 2019 field hasn't been released yet, but the last year, over 30 teams were in it, including 6 that finished in the top 10 at the NCAAs. And a couple of questions about this. How good is that talent pool in that tournament every year? And you guys did not do an in-season tournament last year. Why the change up this season?
Yeah, and that's a weekend too. We'll have to send Kevin up there with a lot of your equipment so he can do some of the social media for us as you're back here in Raleigh.
I've been saving my per diem already for this trip.
Good. It's it's one of those tournaments that you do get probably a third of the NCAA that's going to be there. So you get to see the competition early in the season and make your adjustments as time goes on. So that was kind of missing out on going up to New York twice. As you can see later in the schedule, we'll hit New York again. So obviously we usually go to my brother's event in the Journeyman, but being in New York, back-to-back weekends was not really going to be a good thing on the travel, and we figured we'd use it going out to Vegas, and it's something we haven't been able to do. It just didn't work with our schedule in years past with some of the things going on over the holidays and different tournaments, and we felt, one of the things we need to do this next year is get more matches in, and this is going to be a good way of doing it. Our goal is to probably hit close to 30 matches for every guy on our team, and hitting tournaments is a good way to do it, and we want to be battle tested by the time end of the year rolls around. This is a hungry younger group of guys that we've, from years past, we've had a little different levels of some seniors, some underclassmen. This is a very balanced group, so we can take this kind of competition on and be ready to compete.
One last duel during that fall semester. NC State's going to be traveling to Appalachian State on December 13th, and another long-standing home-and-home series, as this is the 7th straight year you guys will face each other. App State, very good in-state program. They won 4 straight Southern Conference regular season titles. This is just a good matchup for you guys every year, it seems. Yeah,
they, like you said, John Mark's done a phenomenal job there, keeps producing at a high level, and those guys are knocking off teams left and right. And it's one of those, it's in-state. Those guys get amped up to wrestle NC State. We know that, and that's why we like going there. The crowd gets real into it, and they're constantly trying to beat us. And our guys have to elevate their game. That's kind of why we want to wrestle some different level of competition, some different programs that get more amped up to compete against you. And I like to see how our guys respond to this, and it's one of those, they got to be ready to compete, because you're going to get some hard-nosed, tough wrestling from them, and a crowd that's against you. So no better way to put your guys in an environment and get better than go there and compete.
Bit of a winter break for you guys, but everybody's going to reconvene as a team down in Florida for the South Beach Duels. You guys went down there last year, got to face 3 ranked teams. Now this year, Field, it's set. We can't announce the matchups yet, but can guarantee a bunch of good duels down there once again. And you're going to be getting 4. What makes this event good to start that second semester?
Yeah, we get our guys to come back. They get some little bit of training in, and then we get to go and compete 4 matches, similar to what you would get at a tournament, back-to-back days. And the level of competition that we're going to get is going to be pretty high. It's looking like there'll be hopefully a rematch from last year, one of the teams that beat us there. I'm hoping that we can get that all finalized to compete against them. And then I think there are 2 other ranked teams possibly, that a Big 12 and a EIWA team. So we'll see. Nothing's been finalized, but that's been talked about. But yeah, the unknown is kind of what we want. You don't know what kind of opponent you're going to get. You got to show up and be ready to compete, and that's kind of what I like. Keeping our guys on edge a little bit. You can't prepare for an opponent at a tournament. As the tournament's going on, each round you'll see who you're getting. This is kind of similar to that. You'll know the teams, but you don't know who they're throwing out there to wrestle you. So, hey, keep our guys sharp, and then it's also just a change of scenery for us to get down kind of in a different climate. It's also nice to be down in Florida in the wintertime. Even though the weather's good here, we're not going up to the Northeast.
Outdoor tournaments up in New York in winter?
Yeah, about a foot of snow.
Back to dual action for NC State and back to action inside Reynolds Coliseum. The Wolfpack will host Princeton on January 11th, a new team on the schedule, first meeting since 1978. The Tigers set a lot of all-time marks last year. They had 3 All-Americans, 15th place finish at the NCAAs. How did this duel come about?
I think it was one of those where they were traveling down here, wrestling some other teams, and they wanted to get another duel in, and it worked well for us because they're a really hot team right now, and they got some high-level guys. So, again, it's one that's going to benefit us to compete against a program like them that's producing All-Americans and got guys competing at all levels. So, yeah, there's some key matchups there, returning All-Americans they got on their team, and we want to be a part of that to go out and compete against high-level guys. So this will be another good duel that we can encounter that.
Another doubleheader weekend of road duels as NC State will be at Drexel and then over to Hofstra. Drexel's a return from last year's win over the Dragons, and the Pack hasn't faced Hofstra since 2016, but You like putting your guys in tough environments in road action. What can you tell us about those two programs?
Yeah, they're two programs that are working hard and have a good product. Drexel came down here last year, competed extremely hard against us, and I think that's one of those matches we're going to go in there and they're going to have a good crowd, a rowdy crowd, and going right from there, we'll travel over to Hofstra, who, when I was at Binghamton, Papadopoulos was my assistant coach for 6 years, so Yep.
So
Popolizio and Papadopoulos.
Wow.
Yeah. Do the math on that with the vowels. And we've got a good relationship, and he's working hard to continue to build this program up there. And, again, it's a New York program and gets our guys back in New York, like competing up in the Northeast. And we'll have a lot of New York guys on our roster wrestling in that dual meet. So I'm sure they'll being in Long Island, they get a good crowd there too. So, we get to see some new faces that we haven't seen in the last couple of years, and I think that's what makes this a unique schedule for us.
That puts an end to the non-conference duels, as the Wolfpack will close out the regular season with 5 straight ACC duels, starting by hosting Virginia. Head coach up there, Steve Garland, he just signed a new 4-year extension, and they return an NCAA finalist in Jack Mueller at 125. And good battle last year. The Cavs returned 9 of those 10 starters that you guys faced in that duel, and there's just been a lot of battles over the years between your two programs.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Garland, who was actually just up with my brother in New York, I saw some pictures. So, yeah, we've known each other for a long time. I was actually looking at some old high school results, and him and his brother, his twin brother, were popping up. So we've gone way back from high school, back in the glory days, and just happy to see the success that he's had and the contract extension that he got, because he's done a great job over there. So yeah, there's any team we wrestle in the ACC, there's always the rivalry being in conference, but the battle that is fought on the mat is always intense. And I think that's one of those duels you said last year. It was a pretty tight duel there as well. A couple guys were out of our lineup, and they had a strong lineup. So you get a lot of those guys back next year, and our guys got to be ready to wrestle that duel for sure, which is at home, so that's always nice to have because they get a good crowd up there too.
Their facilities last year were interesting. It was a little hot inside that mat room.
That's good. You need that. A little adversity for you.
The SID doesn't go up there to sweat it out, though.
Yeah, you need to.
First ACC road duel will be up at Pitt. And last year, the Panthers, they came down to Raleigh and left with an 18-16 win on Senior Day in the home finale. And the Pack won 5 of those first 6 matches last year, but the Panthers closed out with 4 straight and 2 bonus points. A disappointing team result last year for your guys. Maybe some added motivation this year?
You'd like to think so. Yeah, that's another program that's got momentum going. They're improving, every year they're getting better. So they've all done a great job there. And, I think, very familiar with a lot of those guys. I think a lot of those guys are back in their lineup next year. So it will be. I think it's one of those, our guys at this level competing, you got to show up and be ready to wrestle. And they got the win over us last year. So I think that's one our guys are probably going to be excited to go up and compete. And I know going on the road over there, they get another really good crowd. So, that'll be a good test for our guys, and see the guys that were in that dual meet last year, how they respond and stepping up their game a little bit, knowing that the competition is going to be after us. And always look forward to those kind of challenges. So that'll be one that our guys, I'm sure, will be geared up for.
The home schedule closes out with North Carolina and Virginia Tech visiting Reynolds Coliseum on consecutive weekends. NC State and UNC tied atop the regular season standings last year, and the Wolfpack won the head-to-head in Chapel Hill 20-14. Now, UNC comes in with a bunch of ranked guys, and they've really improved their lower weights recently. A tough matchup in Reynolds for sure.
Yeah, good in-state competition right there, and I know our guys always look forward to that dual meet as well as their guys. There's just always that high level of competition, so that'll be a fun one in Reynolds, and we'll work hard to get that crowd pumped up and come in and compete hard. But yeah, that's going to be another test for us, which ACC is ramping up more and more, so the level of competition is getting higher and higher, which is good for everybody.
And talk about good rivalries. it hasn't been any better than NC State and Virginia Tech each of the last 2 seasons. Both seasons, it was a winner-take-all for the ACC regular season crown, with NC State winning both, including on criteria last year up in Blacksburg. And the Hokies, they've already announced NCAA champion Mekhi Lewis will be taking an Olympic redshirt, but they have plenty of guys to plug in there and are always up there with you guys for top honors in the ACC.
Definitely. I think the growth of the ACC, has been led by a couple programs in just the last couple years with producing national champs and getting team trophies, and they've obviously done that. So it's one of those iron sharpens iron, and I think it makes everybody better in conference, and that's one of those that are our guys, and I know their guys love to compete against each other, and obviously you want to win everything you're competing in, and it's the same for them. So that mentality is there, and it's making us all better, making everybody work harder and smarter, and makes your guys do the same. So we're excited to have that in Raleigh this year and work just as hard as the week before. I know that's a regional weekend for high schools, but we're already starting to communicate with a lot of high school coaches here to work to get their teams over here after that. So that's going to be a big part of getting the crowd involved in that dual meet.
A bit of a change on your schedule to end the season. It's a trip to Duke. Now, Duke opened your ACC slate each of the past 5 years, but this year you guys end with the Blue Devils. Why the change in the schedule?
Yeah, that's out of our hands. That was something the ACC did. They dictate the dates that you wrestle home and away. So I think the coaches wanted a little bit of change each year, and we're starting to see that. So it's good. I mean, we'll, again, got to be ready. Those guys do a great job every year, and you can see the battles that they've given us over the time. And I think we, even you can look back 4 or 5 years ago, we even had a loss to them. So it doesn't matter who you're wrestling any given day. Anybody can win, and you got to be ready to go. And that's one, again, in conference, you can't have any hiccups.
That puts a bow on the regular season in duels. The ACCs will be held up in Pittsburgh this year, and then a couple of weeks later, the NCAA championships will be held in Minnesota. And the NCAAs are going to be held in an NFL stadium for the first time. Usually they're in a hockey or basketball arena. And after ticket crunch last year in Pitt, I'm sure a lot of fans are happier with the bigger venue. What have you coaches been told about the setup, and how do you feel going into a football stadium for NCAAs?
Definitely going to be different. I think the positive to this is everybody's going to get lower bowl tickets. The negative is you might be 100 yards away watching a match. So no one's going to be complaining that this school or that school got more tickets. I do know it's already been said that whatever tickets we order, we cannot give back. Where years past, a lot of times you get an allotment, and then if you don't sell your tickets, you got to give them back. So we got to be strategic with that, with our fans ordering their tickets. And then, I think the luxury is the way the mats are going to be laid out. There might be some challenges seeing a mat or two, but I guess if a guy's up on that mat, you can look up at the big screen, and they have those huge screens now in all those NFL stadiums that you can watch a match if you need to. And I know, why do you go to an event to watch it on a big screen? Well, you can get 6 mats probably in person. If you don't like it, you got to walk across the arena knowing the guy's going to be up soon. So there's some pros and cons to it, but I think the positive is we're trying to break the all-time attendance record, which the growth of the sport, I think we're going to hit that. And then the negative is going to be, your seating is going to be pretty far away. So, plus it's probably going to be cold there too.
I was going to say, thank goodness this isn't outdoors up in Minnesota.
Yeah, we got to start finding some warmer places for the NCAAs.
You got mad at me when I brought that up 4 years ago.
Now I'm with you. All right, you won me over.
Okay. But that was the full slate of the 2019-20 NC State wrestling team. Full details on specific dates and options to view the duels will be available on GoPack as soon as I get around to working on that. But you can buy your season tickets to the NC State Wrestling Home Duels now. Visit gopack.com/buy tickets. A lot of great action in Reynolds. In each of the past 2 years, you guys have set season ticket records for most tickets sold, and I know you wanted me to add this, but fans can buy season tickets and then upgrade their tickets to some very comfortable seats that are mat side. Pat, this new ticket option, it's a great way to see the action up close. Yeah,
I think there's not a bad seat in Reynolds. I'd love this venue to compete in. It's loud, it's rowdy, and the seats are always right on top of the mat. And then it goes back to when we wrestled Ohio State and we put out those mats that are left out there for other sports, and same concept. We're going to keep those nice leather seats with the comfy right off the mat. for fans that want to upgrade, and I think it's a good option to have for someone that wants to see things up close.
Who is the person that's getting credit for having them out at every duel this year?
I think we've had some good support with the meeting of the minds that work behind the scenes here. So our administration was in full support of it, and they brought it up, and
Now,
it's a no-brainer.
You're not naming names.
Well,
there was one person pushing for this.
That's you, right?
I know it was
Yeah.
me.
Well, you should have spoke louder.
So Wolfpack fans, buy these seats. I don't want to see them empty.
They won't be. I can promise you that.
Nah, great seats, comfortable. You'll be right there on the action. Pat, it's great when you get to take the time and talk to us on your own podcast. The schedule finally dropped. That just means we're getting this much closer to the upcoming season.
Absolutely, and it is. It's a different schedule, something that we'll see a lot of new teams and continue to work to get different conferences in home and away, and always looking for that, to have some big teams come to Raleigh, and sometimes it just falls where different schedules with the Big Ten and Big 12, they just don't work on the dates we need them. So we got to keep working to continue to get some certain teams. But I'm excited to have some of these new dual meets, and especially the Cornell. I think that's going to be a big duel for us, and being able to get them here the following year, it'll be nice. And then the Vegas tournament. So we'll have to get your ticket booked.
I was going to say, I've been coming to these preseason workouts, 6 o'clock in the mornings.
Maybe I've only seen you twice. We're going on 4 weeks, so I'm not counting or anything.
I'm selective, but how are these preseason workouts going for you guys?
They've been great. This team's attitude is very special. It's very different. It's extremely mature, and we have 35 guys on our roster right now, and we don't lose anybody for 2 years. So that, to me, is something that, we've worked hard to build this mentality, this culture that we're working on. It's taken some time, and the leadership's better than ever right now with some of the guys we have returning and the talent. There's just a lot moving together here that's going to put out a very good product this year with this group of guys. So I'm excited to see these guys continue to compete and raise the bar.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.